Women and children bear the brunt of these things. But unfortunately, the law as it is does not protect them.
I have this strong aversion when it comes to, like this strong hatred for them.
In the heart of West Africa, a silent epidemic is spreading its toxic roots, leaving countless lives shattered in its wake. This is the story of image-based sexual abuse in Nigeria, a digital menace that disproportionately preys on women and girls, leaving them scarred, violated, and silenced. It's also a story of resilience, empowerment, and the urgent need for change.
Advances in technology have transformed and expanded the ways in which sexual violence can be perpetrated. One of the newer manifestations of violence and abuse is the non-consensual creation and/or distribution of private sexual images. Image-based sexual abuse refers to a combination of any of these three key behaviors. One, non-consensual creation or taking of private sexual images, and this includes AI-altered images or deepfakes. Second, the non-consensual distribution or sharing of such images. And third, threats to share those private sexual images. This is a pervasive issue due to the easy perpetuation, that is, the ease with which those nudes or sexual images can be created, shared, uploaded, downloaded, and also the difficulties associated with removing those images.
Late March 2023, deeply shocking allegations of revenge porn surfaced against a certain Tedu Oluwadara Bendega at Lere SLVT on Snapchat and on Twitter. According to another Twitter user going by the name Nma at the Nma on Twitter, Tedu, her ex-boyfriend, tried to blackmail her with explicit pictures and videos of herself after they had broken up. This was so Nma wouldn't expose his illicit trade, the distribution of sexual images, pictures and videos of women and girls on pornographic channels via Telegram without consent. Once Nma spoke out, other women also began to allege that they had been Tedu's victims. It is not clear if any of these women sought justice formally. In July 2023, a Lagos-based businessman accused of circulating nude pictures of single mothers whom he had previously had relationship with on social media was arrested by men of the Lagos State Police Command. He would take those images while having the women under the influence of drugs he mixed in their drinks and afterwards blackmail them with the images. One of his victims had attempted suicide after the abuser sent her images to her church WhatsApp group. The case has been charged to court.
He removed his WhatsApp DP and put one of my nude pictures as his WhatsApp DP on his display picture on WhatsApp. So I saw it and I started crying. And then he also posted some on his WhatsApp status and was sending me comment people were making about my body. He started sending me like the screenshots.
It doesn't really matter that the images were taken with consent. So for instance, a victim before the sharing of the image took the images consensually or had you take the images consensually, even shared it with you consensually, but then you share it to the public or you share it to another person, a third party, without consent. That's the crime.
When we launched a qualitative study to try to understand the lived experiences and psychological impacts of image-based sexual abuse on victims. One thing we found that stuck out like a sore thumb is that image-based sexual abuse in Nigeria is extremely underreported. Victims are sometimes ignorant that they can even report on the platforms where such is happening, and they are also very reluctant to talk about what has happened or what is happening to them, to anyone that they may know, or even to law enforcement.
People need to understand what online GBV is. People need to understand it so that they can recognize it when it's happening to them, and they can recognize it when it's happening to others.
During the COVID-19 pandemic lockdown, Nigerian women ranked top 4 for the highest exposure to gender-based violence worldwide, as the percentage increased to 48%, amounting to almost 1 out of 2 women experiencing gender-based violence in Nigeria during the lockdown. It is against this backdrop the conversation on online gender-based violence in Nigeria is being discussed.
Nigeria is a very culturally sensitive society, and abusers know this. They know that the victims of sexual-related violence in Nigeria are almost never forgiven for it, even though they are the victim. Perpetrators of image-based sexual abuse, they know this, and they use this to control and to blackmail their targets. The survivors that we talk to had experienced some type of loss related to educational or socioeconomic opportunities in form of expulsion or withdrawal from school, businesses, loss of jobs, and so on.
I wasn't going to school. I wasn't going to classes anymore. Like, nothing actually interests me. I was just home. I was not doing anything. Got to a point I was actually suicidal.
Some of the threat actors that we've arrested here are actually underaged, ages between 14, 12, 15. So it's actually worrisome. And of course, and more of them are getting involved. Some of them are dropping out from school and getting into sextortion.
One of the key things that one would have to do would be to look at accountability mechanisms. When online GBV does happen, who is responsible for reporting? And even when someone reports, who is responsible for initiating that response pathway?
One of the major barriers I think we have to providing legal services to survivors of gender-based violence, whether it be physical or online, is at the reporting stage. The architecture of the police station is not designed to support victims that walk through the door to make complaints in this regard.
It's important that a training for law enforcement officers is conducted, and it's not just conducted as a one-off, but there's a structure for it so that it becomes the culture of law enforcement in Nigeria.
If you look at the Appropriation Act, we do not have any budgetary allocation to gender-based violence. And I'll be sincere with you, criminal justice system is very, very, I'm stressing it, very expensive.
So because of that, the Inspector General of Police approved for us to train our frontline officers. Recently, on fundamentals of cybercrime investigations. It's not a hopeless situation as people think. It's not. So if you have any issues, still go down to the police station. The ones they cannot do, normally they used to escalate it to our level, and we've offered them, tremendous, support. We've helped a lot of them. A few months ago, we were able to organize what we call Secure Her Digitally, a program where we were able to draw about 100 girls into our center, and of course we have to sensitize them on how to stay safe online. We discovered that most people find it difficult to show up. Most victims find it difficult to show up. Most of them out of fear of stigmatization, shame, and a whole lot, they find it difficult to show up. When we discovered that, we then decided to create a reporting portal. Most of the victims used to, visit the portal, lodge their complaints. You can equally have access to tips on how to stay safe online. You can actually drop your comments, if there are things you feel that we're not doing well. And again, reporting through the e-reporting portal is free. It's free. Nobody will charge you money. The government provided the technologies and all this enabling environment for us to be able to work with. We're trying to change the narrative, whether you like it or not.
Justice to victims is offering or defining what real remedies look like. You can go to court, or the state can prosecute the perpetrator and land him in jail or have him pay a fine, or you can sue for breach of privacy and whatnot. But many times victims would say that it still doesn't solve the problem, because again, remember, we are in the internet or digital age, and many times these images, once shared online, just start circulating, and so that just multiplies the hurt. And that then brings us to converse about internet intermediaries.
So you want to look at internet intermediaries. You want to look at technology companies. You want to look at the platforms where these crimes are committed and who is responsible or accountable for ensuring that each perpetrator of that type of crime gets identified and that the victim gets the kind of help and support that they need.
And I think that's why that's one of the reasons why the recent legislation or subsidiary regulation, subsidiary code by NITDA, which is the National Information Technology Development Agency, was very, very important. Because once a complainant sends a message to the internet intermediary to say, look, I have this image of mine on your platform, I don't have it there with my consent, I need you to take it down. The code actually provides that the internet intermediary works within 48 hours to